Good morning, everyone. This is Mike Dutter with the National Weather Service here in Wakefield, filling in for Katie. She's a little under the weather today. So let's go ahead and get started with the state weather briefing. As you can see, there is a little wintry weather that we're going to have to contend with later today and into tonight, especially across the northern part of the Commonwealth, as well as the mountain areas of Virginia, with winter weather advisories in effect in those areas shaded in purple. But the good news is that after we get past today, tonight, and tomorrow morning, there is going to be a significant warming trend through starting Wednesday and really continuing through the end of the week. And in fact, some places will see perhaps some of our first 80-degree temperatures of the year. So that's really good news. We've had a long winter, so I think for most of us, those warmer temperatures will certainly be welcome. But first, let me show you the latest radar and observations from across the region here. And notice that there's this large area of precipitation off to our west, just starting to enter the western parts of the Commonwealth right now. Now, the northern sections of this is mostly snow, and with temperatures in the 20s in southern Ohio and into Kentucky and parts of West Virginia. Notice that even though it might be a little hard to see, but notice that the temperatures across most of the Commonwealth, however, are already well into the 30s. In fact, even some 40s across the southeast part of the state. So as this precipitation moves in, the temperatures will level out, or they may start to cool again later this afternoon as the precipitation moves in. And that could allow for, especially again across the northern part of the state, this precipitation to start out as snow or a rain-snow mix. And we'll get into this a little bit more here in just a second. So let me first go into the weather pattern for the next week. And again, for today, we have this high pressure initially in control, but we do have this rain and wintry mix moving in pretty rapidly from the west. By Tuesday morning, this is sort of when late tonight into Tuesday morning, this is sort of when we're going to be in the heart of the precipitation with a wintry mix to the north and rain across the south. And then by Wednesday, see this frontal system that is to our south will go to our north by Wednesday and especially Thursday. And other than maybe some continued scattered showers on Wednesday and possibly Thursday, especially across the north, it is going to warm up significantly, with that continuing for Friday and really into beyond into the weekend. Again, could be some chances for showers, especially across the northern part of the state. But for the most part, it's just going to be, a lot of the state's going to be warm and again, very quite warm with well above normal temperatures. So let's first get into the winter weather advisory. Again, the winter weather advisory is in effect for areas in purple on the map there, and mainly for this afternoon through tomorrow morning. Some of the northern parts of the state especially could see 1 to 2 inches of snow, locally maybe up to 3 inches, especially on the ridge tops. Once you get further south, that's where you could start to see some accumulation of freezing rain, especially tonight into tomorrow morning, where maybe up to a tenth, maybe up to a quarter of an inch on the ridge tops. But again, that would be later tonight into early tomorrow morning. And again, the road conditions could be slippery in places this afternoon and maybe again tomorrow morning as well, depending on how fast that snow and that precipitation moves in. So here's the expected snowfall through tomorrow morning. Generally 1 to 2 inches, again, maybe up to 3 along the ridge tops in the advisory area. And really surrounding the advisory area, less than an inch. The Richmond Metro, for example, we're not expecting really any accumulation of snow. It may snow some or mix with rain snow mix, but we are not expecting accumulation to occur. And again, just very light accumulations, if any, across central and southern Virginia. Now, the probabilities of snow, looking at those probabilities, probability 1 inch of snow and 3 inches or more. And again, across far northern part of the Commonwealth, a 30 to 40% probability of at least an inch of snow, and maybe locally higher in the ridge tops, up to 50%. Whereas probability of 3 inches of snow is quite low, generally less than 10% anywhere across the Commonwealth. So again, this snow will be a steady, across the northern part of the state, steady snow, light snow that could accumulate, especially on grassy surfaces. If you do get a little bit heavier rates, there could be a little bit of slush that develops on roadways across the northern part of the state. But again, the temperatures are going to be very marginal. Temperatures are going to be, close to freezing or just below. So, and we're not expecting the rates to become too excessive to cause any significant problems. But again, there could be some slippery roads and some slushy areas as well. And here are the freezing rain probabilities for today. A probability of basically a glaze of ice, so 1/100th of an inch of ice. Again, highest Shenandoah Valley, I-81 corridor, generally 30 to 60% probability of glaze of ice across this area here. So again, pretty much west of Richmond and Northern Virginia. Once we get into a probability of 1/10 of an inch of ice, that drops significantly, generally only 20 to 30%, mainly from the Piedmont and points west, into the Shenandoah Valley, with the highest, again, over the ridge tops, the mountains of western Virginia. So again, nuisance ice, but again, with the temperatures being marginal, there could be some slippery spots on the roads, but again, the main threat for some of this ice could be ice in the trees. Again, this wouldn't be enough to bring down any trees or anything like that, but again, something to keep aware of. It could be, especially tomorrow morning, a little slippery in spots in the advisory area. And so I wanted to next bring in really quick, just sort of the timing, what we're expecting for timing of precipitation. So this is about right now. And again, a lot of this over the state really is not, this is a model depiction of reflectivity of what could happen over the next 24 hours. The blues are mostly snow, the greens rain, and then we have this red, which you'll see could be a little bit of freezing rain. And so again, this initial batch this morning, most of that is going to not reach the ground. But as you get later into the afternoon, you can see that we do start to see, this is about 2 p.m., you do start to see some of the snow, especially across the northern part of the state, the rain and snow mix across, central Virginia, and then rain just starting to move into to the eastern parts of the state. And also you can see, by mid-afternoon, maybe some freezing rain developing across the, some of the higher elevations as well of Southwest Virginia. Once you get into the evening, you can see that, again, we continue with this steady, but generally light precipitation. You start to see this ice expand a little bit more across the western part of the state. Light snow or rain and snow continuing over central and northern Virginia. And in fact, it might diminish some this evening across far northern Virginia. And then by later tonight into tomorrow morning, notice how you start to really see more of that red, that freezing rain, getting maybe as far east as Savannah and Louisa County, as well as across the northern part of the state. Continue to see this light snow or rain snow mix continuing across the north, but the remainder of the state is mostly rain. And then once you get into early to mid morning tomorrow after sunrise, that's when the precipitation changes to all rain as the temperatures warm up, and then gradually will end as the afternoon goes on. So let's take a look at the forecast summary for the rest of the week. Again, today's going to be the coldest day with temperatures generally in the 30s. There's a few higher values in places, but generally 30s and lower 40s. But look by Wednesday and especially Thursday, Friday, Saturday, those temperatures warming well above normal into the upper 70s and perhaps even some lower 80s by Friday. And to follow up with that, our lows will be generally in the 50s by Thursday morning. So again, very pleasant early spring type temperatures expected as after we get through this wintry weather here early this week. And outside of the precipitation today into tonight into tomorrow morning, generally the rest of the state generally remains dry, maybe a chance of showers, especially across the north each day this week, but a lot of the state will remain dry. Some better chances maybe late in the weekend as the next system moves in. And the outlook for next week, again, was well below normal temperatures are expected through next week. And then with some normal precipitation, really just some frontal systems, upper level systems may bring in some scattered showers to the region from time to time next week. So again, above normal, really just a nice stretch of spring weather is in store for the area starting this week and going into next week. So that's all I got. Everyone, if anyone has any questions, feel free to raise your hand or put them in the question bar. Otherwise, everyone have a great week.